It doesn't look like anyone's been here in a while. Probably ain't much left. Just see what you can find. I'll take upstairs. Eddie watched as Benson climbed the overgrown steps and then turned his attentions to scavenging. He'd gotten pretty good at spotting what others missed over the last few months. It was Eddie that found the hidden cellar they currently lived in and the stash of batteries they relied on so heavily. The cellar was running short on food though, so here they were, back to gutting abandoned homes. Eddie started towards the kitchen. Always the best place to begin your hunt. If there was a pantry, that's where you found it. It also tended to give you an idea of how thoroughly the place might have already been searched. As he arrived, he was greeted by an all too familiar sight. Surfaces gathered dust, whilst vines grew in through cracked windows. The floor was littered with debris, but was not nearly as dirty as one would expect. Somehow the pot plants were alive. A miracle really, as they usually died off after a week of not being watered. Once he'd taken in the scene, Eddie set to systematically investigating each cupboard for anything of value. Food, cutlery, tea towels, maybe even some more batteries if he was lucky. As expected, the bare shelves offered little more than cobwebs and dust. Eddie continued around the kitchen until he arrived at the fridge. It had taken a long time to get used to the dark, hollow shell most fridges presented as these days, and this one was no different. Except it was. This fridge, though still dark and empty, was cold, like unnaturally cold. Eddie's brow furrowed and he called out, "Ben, come here!" Eddie heard footsteps on the stairs and turned expecting to see Benson arriving at the kitchen. Instead, he was greeted by 2 rifles aimed directly at him. A woman, 40 at most, and a teenage boy stood nervously, eyes locked on him.